Hello, I'm Wes, and by the end of this video, you're going to know how to walk correctly with better posture, straighter with more balance and more efficiency. That way you can experience the benefits of walking instead of the drawbacks. So I had to learn walking mechanics at a young age because I was recovering from sciatica. So maybe you're in the same boat. Maybe you're recovering from an injury, or you want to lessen your pain symptoms, or you just want to prevent pain in the future and walk more efficiently. So I'm excited to share these tips with you because these tips you can apply for life. Walking is such a natural way of life. We walk every day, so it's really important that we walk correctly. So we want to walk with our upper body open, our chest open, and not closed. A lot of times through sitting, our muscles, our shoulder and our chest muscles are tightened up, and we'll just kind of naturally have this posture. So the way that we can fix that is through this stretch. We'll put our hands behind our back and pinch the shoulders back. And make sure when you do this, you keep your abdominals engaged, squeeze the belly button into your spine, and squeeze the glutes too while you're doing this, and pinch the shoulders back, and you'll feel a little opening up in the chest and the front of the shoulder. So if a policeman tells you to put your arms behind your back, at least you get a good chest opener. And another way you can get an even deeper stretch in your chest and your shoulder is putting your arm at a right angle against the wall, stepping forward and feeling the stretch in the front of the shoulder and the chest. So one thing I want to point out is to not force the open chest posture, because if you've been walking with a closed chest or shoulders forward for a while, then you've got some tight muscles you need to stretch out. So it's going to take some time of going through the stretches I just went over for you to restore your mobility so you can relax and your shoulders can be in line with your ears. So that brings me to the next thing, which is relaxing the upper body when you walk. You don't want to be like this, and you don't want to be like this. You want the shoulders to be relaxed. So you have to ask yourself during the day, are my shoulders relaxed? So let's get to head position. So when you're walking, your head position should be, your eyes should be gazing forward. But what if you have to look down at something? So if you have to look down at something, you do a chin tuck instead of hanging and protracting the head. If you do kind of have a forward head, how you can practice getting your head back more is just a chin tuck like this. And just do that about 10 times during the day. So next we're going to work on our rotation when we walk. So rotation is important because it helps us walk more efficient, it propels us forward, and we even burn some more calories and body fat around the midsection. So the way we're going to practice on rotation is keeping our hips stable. So we don't want the hips to move with the waist when we walk, because we're going to walk all wonky, and we're going to put unnecessary stress on our knees, our hips, and our lower backs. And you can start by putting your hands on your hips, and you're just going to rotate from the waist up. And you should feel a little work in your abdominals too when you do this. And you're just gazing forward when you do this also, and just bracing those abdominals. And when you get comfortable with this, you can keep that head stable, and you can swing the arms from side to side. You may find that one side may be tighter than the other. If your lower back is really tight, it's going to be harder for you to rotate. But the good thing is, I'm going to go through a couple stretches to help your rotation. So this stretch will help you build the flexibility you need to rotate. So what you're going to do is take your left forearm on the side of your right thigh, and you're going to twist, feel the stretch in the lower back, and we'll do this 30 seconds on each side. So next thing we're going to talk about is weight shift. So when you walk, you're putting weight on your left side, then your right side. So it's important to shift correctly. So the way we're going to practice this is, first we're going to gain awareness of a big muscle called the glute. Okay, and we're just going to squeeze it, squeeze the butt cheeks together, and just gain awareness of that muscle, because that muscle is really important to keep us stable and to propel us forward. So next, we can start against the wall, and we can take one foot off the ground. I'm going to take my left foot off the ground and shift to the side. So see, my body leans slightly to that right side. and I'm feeling the contraction in my glute. I can feel my glute contract when I go to the side. So common mistakes is going like this, okay? And it's easy to fall over that way, or just bending too much. So you want to pretend like a band is pulling you up when you do this. And if you feel like your hip is weak or you're just not feeling it, a good exercise you can do is you can hold on to something and you can push the leg back like this. Make sure that you keep your abdominals engaged. And then I'm going to go out diagonally, okay? So I'm going to the side and backwards. And you should be able to feel that work in the glute. You can also go behind you too. And you can do 10 each just to feel that glute engage. So on our first step forward, the first thing we're going to focus on is raising the knee, okay? And it's important that we keep the feet straight. So we're coming up on the ball of the foot and we're raising the knee up. And you can go up all the way until you reach the big toe. And from here, we're going to step forward. So when you step forward, you want to make sure that you're not going like this, like stiff leg, because you go stiff leg, heel strike, that gives stress up the body to the joints. So we want to lift the leg, go on the big toe, and we're shifting, we're having a little shift forward. So it's kind of like my right foot is going more towards the ball of the foot, more towards the toes. And then we take our step forward. And when we take our step forward, we're hitting the ground with the bottom half of our foot. And our forefoot kind of follows. And one common thing that happens when you step forward that causes imbalances and causes things like back pain is an anterior pelvic tilt. So anterior pelvic tilt would be if I'm stepping forward, okay, and I'm going like this. You see how my butt's out? It's almost like you're sticking your butt out, and a lot of times you don't even realize that you're doing this, okay? So if you walk like that, right, your glutes are turned off. So we need to make sure that the front of your thighs are loosened up, because that's what pulls you into that position, okay? So the way that we can stretch out the front of the thighs to improve your walking is to put one leg behind the other like this. Okay, so the trick here is to move your pelvis, okay? And it's gonna be like a crunch. So you're crunching your abs. You see how my pelvis moves like that? And that's how I'm gonna feel the stretch in the front of the hip. And make sure you look down and both of your feet are straight too, okay? So, and with that crunch, you also have that glute contract too. So you just hold this stretch, and that will help your pelvis stay in line when you're walking. Next, we're going to add some rotation into the drill that we just did. So we'll do the same drill as we did before, but this time we're going to rotate the right shoulder to the left when we step like this. And we're going to keep gazing forward and try to time that leg with the shoulder so it's in sync. So another thing I want to discuss is calf flexibility. Are your calves tight? Because if they're tight, then you're going to have an early heel raise, which will put pressure on your knees, your hips, your lower back. So you want to make sure that your calves are loosened up. So the way that you can do that is simply in this position, you can bring the knee forward and you can get a stretch in the calf, or you can go up against the wall, put your leg behind you, bring your heel to the ground, make sure the foot is straight, and you can bend the leg for a deeper stretch, but over time that will really increase the flexibility in your calves and you'll walk better. Next, we're going to talk about weight distribution on the foot. It's important that we stay centered up on the foot, that way our body can take the stresses of the surface like it should. So I want you to ask yourself, do you walk on your inner feet? When you look at your shoes, are they worn towards the inner foot? Because it's very common that people pronate when they walk. And pronation looks like this. I'm bringing my inner foot in, my knees cave in a little bit. And the way that you can fix that is working the inner calf. They call it the posterior tib. And the way that you can do that is look at my feet. I'm taking the inner foot up like that, and I can feel my posterior tibialis working. That's the inner calf. Okay, so you can practice that, and that will help fix that pronation. So another thing is, what if you're rolling out like this when you walk? If you're rolling out like that when you walk, then you can just do the opposite. So you can drive the inner foot towards the ground and take the outer foot up. So that'll strengthen the peroneals, which are on the outside of the calf. And so another thing you want to do with your foot when you walk is you want to squeeze the ground when you're stepping. So you step and you squeeze the ground a little bit with your foot, and this helps increase your stability because your foot is actually grabbing the ground. So you can work to strengthen up the plantar fascia, which are the muscles that squeeze your feet, by just squeezing the ground like this. And you can also, pick things up off the ground. I've known people who pick socks or shirts off the ground with their feet. It's also a good way to work on some stability and strengthen up your bottom foot. So next we're going to work on the push-off. So we worked on the stepping forward phase with the rotation. Now we're going to work on pushing off from behind. So when we push off from behind, we want to roll up onto the ball of the foot. We'll feel a little bit of contraction in our calves, and we want to squeeze the glute. So this is going to be the first phase of it. From here, we're going to bring the knee up, just like what we did before, and we're going to step forward and rotate. So you can work on that pushing off motion, coming on the ball of the foot, knee up, rotate. And also when you do this, make sure that your foot is traveling in a straight line. You don't want it to travel in a circle. You want it to go in a path straight forward. Okay, and we're going to put it all together. We've got this band drill that makes sure that we don't cross over like this when we walk. So we're going to gaze forward, chin tuck if you want to look at the band, and you're just going to rotate, rotate, rotate. And now you can put it all together.